Vexstar of the Korak stood on the observation deck of the luxury cruise liner Stellar Majesty, towering 7 feet tall, claws glinting like freshly honed blades, his 4 predatory eyes sweeping across the sea of wealthy tourists with the calm confidence of a creature bred for the hunt. Apex predator, that was what his species proudly called him. The terrifying guy we hope doesn't sit near us at dinner. That was what the passengers whispered as they skittered out of his shadow. The ship's itinerary promised 3 peaceful weeks drifting through the scenic Andromeda sector, which to Vexstar translated into a mobile buffet of soft, pampered beings who'd never faced anything more dangerous than a malfunctioning massage chair. He scanned the pool deck, spotting a group of Flynns wobbling like colorful jellyfish, sipping fruit cocktails through tubes, barely sentient water balloons with the flavor of disappointment. No sport there. His gaze shifted to a cluster of crystalline Zepions refracting light into rainbow shards. More interesting prey perhaps, but he'd hunted their kind before. Once you cracked the pattern behind their light-bending illusions, they were simply expensive mood lamps with loud opinions. He flexed his claws, feeling his hunting instincts simmer with anticipation. The Korak had been dominant predators for over 10 millennia, and Vexstar came from a particularly esteemed lineage, ancestors who'd eradicated entire warrior poet species, even if those poets had been abysmal at both writing and warfare. This moment, the selection of worthy prey, was his favorite part. Anyone could slaughter at random. True artistry came from choosing the right quarry. Challenging, but never threatening, and certainly never capable of surprising someone of his caliber. He was the biggest fish on this ship. He knew it. Everyone else knew it. Or so he foolishly believed. That illusion shattered when his eyes landed on what he initially assumed was the most pathetic excuse for a sentient organism in the galaxy. The creature sat alone at a small promenade table, small-bodied, soft-skinned, utterly weaponless, no claws, fangs, armor, venom, or anything resembling natural defenses, just pink, fragile flesh that looked like it bruised if sunlight thought about touching it. It calmly read a book titled 101 Ways to MacGyver Your Way Out of Alien Abduction. How adorable. A species so defenseless it needed self-help books to survive. Perfect appetizer prey. Vexstar moved toward it with fluid, silent grace. This would be easy. A warm-up. A small, harmless hunt before the real challenge. But as he approached, the creature suddenly looked up with bright, eager eyes and a disarming grin. "Well, hello there, big guy," it chirped, as though greeting a friendly neighbor instead of a biological guillotine. "I'm Jake. You must be one of those Korak folks. Wow, your claws look incredible. Are they naturally that sharp, or do you maintain them?" Vexstar froze. Prey was supposed to scream or faint, not compliment his claws. Before he could recover, Jake produced a small container. "Want some trail mix? Nuts, dried fruit, chocolate bits. I packed way too much." The apex predator found himself being offered snacks by his intended victim. Something was deeply wrong. Before he could respond, a gelatinous Flynn named Quirk sloshed up, trembling violently. "Vexstar, buddy, we need to talk, privately." Jake merely waved, opening his book again. Quirk dragged the Korak several paces away, whispering frantically, "Are you insane? That's a human." Vexstar shrugged. "It's small, weak, perfect prey." Quirk's entire body turned the color of spoiled milk. "Small and weak. Do you even know what humans did during the Centauri conflicts? They turned a mining colony into a fortress using spare parts and sheer spite. They domesticated apex predators for fun. They kept a creature on their homeworld that was designed to kill anything that moved, and called it a pet dog." Before Vexstar could retort, Lord Pompous of the Zepians slid into view, refracting prismatic colors like a pretentious disco ball. "Please tell me you're not planning to engage the human," he drawled. "Humans weaponize everything, including friendship." Vexstar scoffed. "Friendship, a weapon. There was that incident on Kepler Station," Pompous said smugly, "where a human befriended a Vorthan war chief and within a week convinced the entire Vorthan fleet to switch sides in a galactic war, all over drinks." Quirk nodded vigorously. "And their military tactics, don't even get me started. They invented something called human wave attacks. They just keep coming until you either run out of ammo or lose the will to live. Plus," Pompous added, "they're persistent hunters, not faster, not stronger, just infinitely, horrifyingly stubborn." Vexstar dismissed them, but unease gnawed at him. He returned to Jake, who greeted him with the same cheerful smile that made his instincts twitch. "Everything okay?" Jake asked. "Your friends looked worried." "They're not my friends," Vexstar muttered, sitting down. Just concerned about interspecies relations. Oh, that's nice, Jake beamed. I love meeting new beings. First time on a galactic cruise, I usually do outdoorsy stuff, hiking, camping, rock climbing, base jumping, shark diving, bear wrestling. Vexstar blinked. You wrestle predators. Oh, not professionally, Jake said casually. But I did place third in the Florida Alligator Wrestling Championships. Alligator, apex predator. Jake showed him pictures, him hugging a monstrous reptile with teeth like steel traps. That's Snappy, Jake said fondly. Lost a leg in an accident, I volunteer at his preserve. Then came the photograph of Jake casually sitting atop an 800-pound Kodiak bear. Mr. Waffles, Jake explained. We have an agreement. I bring salmon, he doesn't eat my face. Vexstar stared at the image, his internal organs threatening to evacuate his body. The next photo showed an orca, 26 feet of blackened white muscle designed to kill everything in the ocean, smiling beside Jake. That killer, smartest hunter on Earth. Sometimes he brings his family, 12 other orcas, great folks. Vexstar felt faint. This being didn't run from apex predators, it made friends with them. Most of my hobbies are tame compared to my job, Jake continued. I work with the Terran Diplomatic Corps. Vexstar's soul made an exit attempt. The Diplomatic Corps was infamous. They negotiated peace through overwhelming, terrifying competence. So you're military, Vexstar croaked. Oh, not really. Well, I did serve in the Marines for a while. Vexstar's blood froze. Human Marines weren't soldiers, they were natural disasters with dog tags. Learned useful stuff, Jake continued, flipping his book. How to survive anything, make weapons out of anything. Like this book says, though honestly, most of it's pretty basic. Who doesn't know how to make a plasma cutter out of a toothbrush and a power cell? Vexstar reevaluated every life choice he'd ever made. Jake absent-mindedly folded a napkin into a deadly projectile and flicked it with perfect accuracy into a trash bin. Napkin dart, he said cheerfully. Good for an eye. Back in training, we had an instructor who could kill a guy with a plastic spoon. It's all leverage. Anything can be a weapon, Vexstar whispered. Absolutely. I once saw a guy take down a hostile squad with duct tape and a bad attitude. Jake sipped his drink. Vexstar was now 60% sure it was a military-grade stimulant disguised as juice. Diplomacy is just creative conflict resolution, Jake explained. Like the Andromeda Trade Alliance thing. They got aggressive, so we sent a ship to talk. A small one, called the Friendship. Vexstar swallowed. He knew the story. Prototype stealth vessel, Jake said lightly. Enough firepower to crack a moon. We didn't threaten them, we just talked about their lovely capital city and how awful it'd be if something happened to it. They calmed right down. Vexstar noticed the deck clearing around them, passengers fleeing the area entirely. Jake didn't seem to notice. People think humans like fighting, he continued. But really, we like solving problems. We just happen to be really, really good at fighting if we need to. Vexstar felt his soul preparing a will. Anyway. Jake said brightly, we should totally hang out. I've been wanting a buddy to try the combat simulation deck. 2-person minimum. We can hunt holographic predators from across the galaxy. Vexstar made a small, strangled sound. Jake continued enthusiastically, or we could hit the zero-gravity sports complex. Aerial dogfighting in 3D space. It's amazing. All about momentum, angles, predicting movement. Humans are great at it thanks to persistence hunting. You don't stop until the other guy gives up. Vexstar realized the horrifying truth. Humans didn't just hunt to eat. They hunted for recreation. They turned survival strategies into weekend hobbies. Jake folded another napkin into something sharp enough to puncture armor plating and flicked it at the wall. Perfect hit. See, Jake grinned. Everything is a tool. Everything can be a weapon. Humans are basically the galaxy's MacGyver species. We see a problem and think, how do I turn this into a hammer? The apex predator finally understood. He had not chosen prey. He had chosen the most dangerously friendly, enthusiastically violent, unpredictably persistent species in the galaxy, and it was offering him snacks. So, Jake said, standing and stretching, want to team up? I bet you're awesome in a fight. Vexstar, who had set out to hunt, now realized the only correct response was obedience. Yes, he whispered. Yes, human Jake. Jake grinned. Great, this is gonna be fun. And as the rest of the ship quietly evacuated the deck to maintain a safe distance, Vexstar followed the human, slowly realizing that on the Stellar Majesty, he was no longer the biggest fish. He wasn't even a fish. He was, at best, an anxious sardine walking next to a smiling, friendly, walking extinction event.